Hello, people of YouTube. This is Suki 3434. My old account is my Suki 3434. My old account is let's just say it's kind of been disposed right now for some reason. I don't know why. I'll have to I'll have to re-upload them, re-upload my videos if I can. But if I can't, but yeah. I'm gonna be reading fanfiction on this account, and I'll tell you. I'll post the link to the fanfic I'm reading right now. It is a 46 chapter one currently. It's very long. Let me just say this: it's gonna take me a long time to post this in two part. It's probably gonna be a two-part thing each video. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed the story. It's called Jurassic Park: Broken Lives. No, it takes place during the second movie, and not the book. The person has read all two books, watched all three movies, I think, and etc. I think. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Let's start. Damn it! I can't start. Where to start? Chapter one: Disaster at the Nest. Where to start? Oh, sorry, folks. Silverclaw, a juvenile velociraptor of the Western Ridge Pack, swiftly made his way through the dense brush of Isla Sorna. His sleek body and muscular legs allowed him to move easily between the trees and brush. A long neon stripe ran from the scales behind his deep red eyes, and to the tip of his tail. 11 feathers sat on the base of his skull behind the dark blue crests and triangular head. He slowed slightly and jumped onto a log. He glanced back to see the brush moving and a triangular head emerged. It was another velociraptor. As it hissed at him, um, Silverclaw leapt off the log and surged deeper into the jungle, away from his pursuer. The heavy smell of flowering foliage and damp earth filled the air. The distant calls of large creatures echoed through the jungle, and light footsteps sounded closely behind. The area behind him was a lush green, though the constant aura of danger hung heavily amongst the trees. He emerged into a small glade and quickly ducked behind a fallen tree. To the far right side of the glade, to conceal himself from view, he pressed himself tightly against the mossy surface of the tree. Slowly he lifted his head enough to see above the rounded surface. Around the surface, out over the glade beyond. With a low growl, a young female velociraptor, only about a year old, emerged into the glade. She was as tall as Silverclaw, but lacked his coloration. Instead of dark blue scales, this female had glossy white scales with intermingling black spots. Oh yeah, folks. Sorry to interrupt this part, but in the story, but I should warn you, I might make some spelling errors, and please don't correct me because I always did have this kind of problem in my nose or something like that. So I will, yeah, I might pause every now and then. Her body was slender in form, but even though she would not be an adult for a few years yet, she could take down herbivores twice her size. Her powerful muscular razor-sharp claws. Right, her powerful muscles and razor-sharp claws that could tear through the thick hides of her prey with relative ease. "I know you're here, Silverclaw," she said. The way she said it, though, was demonic and unnerving. She scanned the area with amber eyes. "I will find you." Silverclaw remained motionless as the female's nostrils flared, taking in the scent from the surrounding area. Slowly her head turned to the fallen tree behind which Silverclaw was hiding. With a graceful cat-like manner, she moved forward. She moved towards the log with a bird-like bobbing of the head overhead, calculative and merry. The female velociraptor was close, so close in fact that her every breath was as clear as cold. Stream heading to the ocean, Silverclaw prepared to pounce. His muscles tense as the approaching footsteps grew steadily louder, and once the female velociraptor was close enough, he jumped with his dagger-like teeth, baring his right polished form and slick back claws, slashing vigorously at the air in front of him, presented with a ferocious shriek. The female fell to the ground in a startled shriek of her own. "That was not funny," the female snarled, snared, obviously shaken. "Oh, yes, it was, Sophia," the Silverclaw chirped. "I wish you could have seen your face. Seen your expression on your face." Sophia slowly stood up and shook her head, shedding some of the moist soil from the light rain earlier in that day. That day, that clung to her body. Shoot. Sophia slowly stood up, shook her head, shedding some of the moist soil from the light rain earlier in the day that clung to her body. The white scales that covered her body were distorted to one side of her body from the film of black soil and several leaves. Sophia let out a loud shriek and pounced at Silverclaw. Setting him to the ground, she placed her foot upon his head and pushed hard. And pushed down. Sorry, folks. Her head perked up proudly, and she looked at him, creating an affectionate purr. Silverclaw only could roll his eyes. It was only rolled his eyes. It was a cheap shot, Sophia, and you know it. Oh, really? Sophia cocked her head. She placed more weight onto Silverclaw. He squirmed, but she had him stuck. "Okay, you win." So Silverclaw sighed. "Would you let me up now?" Sophia snorted in acceptance and lifted her foot off his head. That was simple, wasn't it? Silverclaw shook his scales clean and looked at Sophia. He smiled. "What do you want to do now?" So, what do you want to do? What do you want to do now? "I don't know. What do you want to do?" Sophia replied and brushed off the remaining dirt. She tucked her arms against her body and licked her claws clean. "We can go to the screen. We could go to the stream," Silverclaw said after some thought, and tilted his head slightly. "I'm thirsty, and we could get a snack along the way, maybe." "Okay." Sophia smiled and started to run. "Race you there!" "Hey, no fair!" he shouted, and ran after her. Though the dense brush between them, he lost sight of Sophia, but her scent was easy enough to follow. Within several minutes of running, he reached the stream. A large muddy bank surrounded the meter-wide stream. Fresh footprints lined either side. Thick bushes lined the bank edge. Sophia was nowhere in sight. "If you're trying to scare me, it isn't working. You can come out now." "I wasn't trying to scare you," Sophia emerged from the bushes to his right. "You passed me because I found this," she added, and lifted up her right hand with a little green dinosaur in it. "Oh, okay," Silverclaw said, and turned to drink while Sophia finished her meal. "So, what do you want to do now?" Sophia asked in her soft, sweet tone, and sat down, chewing on the soft-bodied com, com, some. I can't pronounce the name, but I'll just say Compy because it's much easier. On the soft-bodied Compy. "One moment," Silverclaw replied, fixated on the water's surface. Slowly, He moved his head towards the water, careful not to make any sudden movements. He lunged, snapping his jaws shut with a splash. Blood pooled around his mouth, and with a quick snap of his head, he threw out a catfish onto a nearby rock. He stepped onto the flailing fish and sank his teeth into the gut. He pulled a large slab of flesh off and tossed back his head. He shifted his jaws slightly. That wasn't the best thing I tasted. Why? So Sophia curiously lifted her head, sawing the rest of her prey. Droplets of blood dripped from her jaws. It was bland and slimy, Silverclaw said, but sank his teeth back into the fish. And yet you eat it, Sophia laughed. Silverclaw looked up, his scales dyed red. What do you want to do after this? I know, Sophia said suddenly and excitedly. We can go to that human thing. Hey, yeah, there's always something to do there, Silverclaw chirped, and enthused by her suggestion. We had better go to the nest first, though. Yeah, I guess we should, Sophia sighed. We don't want to get in trouble like last time. Suddenly, in the distance, a thunderous roar sounded through the jungle. The fierce calls of the pack quickly followed. Sophia and Silverclaw looked at one another, horrified at what they could hear. Their breathing quickened as the calls of the pack continued. But both suddenly surged towards the nests. Despair and fear filled them as the jungle became quiet. They passed through the denser foliage and nearly collided with several trees and tripped on roots. Suddenly, they emerged into the nesting grounds and froze. Before them, the nesting area was in pieces. Lifeless bodies of the pack lay scattered about. Several missing, some disemboweled bodies were already swarming with flies. The trampled nests had eggshells crushed, and partly grown infants laying limp. Large footprints covered the area. Sophia stumbled backwards, into the ground. They're gone. All of them, Sophia cried. A light groan came from somewhere, a body near the edge of the nesting site, and a head rose slowly. The Spinosaurus came out of nowhere. The Velociraptor said deliriously. It was not clear whether the Velociraptor was speaking to itself or to Silverclaw and Sophia. The female Velociraptor's head collapsed back to the ground, and a huge crocodilian snout suddenly emerged out from the trees to grab the fallen raptor. Mom! Sophia screamed. A sickening crack followed as the Spinosaurus bit down on the body. Sophia trembled as the Spinosaurus turned towards her, holding the limp form of Sophia's mother in its mouth. Silverclaw pushed Sophia to her feet and forced her to run. The Spinosaurus roared and pursued. Silverclaw and Sophia raced through the jungle, blinded out of fear and despair for their fallen family, and the fate they could get if they did not do the same. They did not escape the Spinosaurus. Damn. The Spinosaurus kept a steady pace as it pursued the fleeing velociraptors, stepping on or over the underbrush without a hint of slowing down. The velociraptors turned into the denser jungle, hoping that the Spinosaurus would give up. It did not. It did not. Silverclaw looked back briefly and to see the Spinosaurus push past the trees that were meant to slow it down. Suddenly, he